More protests out there, them trying to block roads around the country. Police have been on alert not only here in the capital, but across the entire country to stop that from happening. So there is a bit of a standoff. With regard to the 5 Americans, 8 total people, 5 of them Americans arrested, they had a ton of guns on them, many of them automatic weapons that would have to be registered here in the country. It is not clear what they were up to. Local reports saying that they identified themselves as working for the government to police when they were picked up. The police disagree. We will learn more about this, but it certainly adds a level of intrigue here. This as
Hello, and this is the Federation of African Liberation. We are a Pan-Africanist organization, and we seek to not only spread information about issues going on in the African diaspora, but ultimately organize Africans throughout the diaspora for the common cause of fighting our mutual oppression. So this video is going to be about a situation that was uncovered in Haiti this past week. If you don't know, Haiti's been having a really tumultuous uprising against the government inside of Haiti, and particularly against the president. Some people said it was sparked because of fuel hikes. Others say it's just the overall relationship that Haiti has had, particularly with imperialist powers, where Haiti has been exploited by powers such as the United States. And it's really the bourgeoisie, the political elite, who are allowing Haiti to be raped for resources, allowing the people to be taken advantage of. And because of that, the entire country has plunged into despair for most of the people. So you have a small elite who are basically upholding a system of imperialism, where the United States, being the most notorious imperialist inside of this side of the world, has been on the forefront of exploiting the people of Haiti, not just since the earthquake that happened, I believe, in 2008, but really since Haiti has gotten its independence, since they finally got rid of the colonialist masters. Since that happened, the United States has had a very aggressive relationship towards the Haitian people and towards their calls for liberation. Now, I'm not going to go over what's going on there. If you want to just look in the news, understand that there's a lot of uprising. The people in the streets are out, they're protesting, they're saying no to the government, and they're trying to do something about their current situation. And what I observe is that a lot of the attitude, a lot of the sentiment is that I don't care if we die just burning this country down. We want something that's not this. We can't keep living in this situation the way that we are at this point. And so you have a lot of people who are upset. You have a lot of people who are angry, and a lot of people who are protesting. And it's all over, not all the news, but it's all over. If you search about what's going on in Haiti, you can find a lot of information on that. Now, something this week that was very interesting but not surprising to me was the uncovering of United States mercenaries inside of Haiti. And I thought this is an important topic to talk about because, in particular, with our people being African people, we have to confront what are we going to do about the invisible government. All of us, we are trying to get organized. We're trying to get in the position to attack the visible government. What I mean by the visible government, I mean, the Congress, the political processes that we see. Donald Trump, for example, he's someone who we see in front of us. We're poised to fight those types of oppressors, but we're not poised to fight the oppressors that are not seen. And when we say invisible government, we mean but that there is a system, an economic system that is basically backed by forces, backed by military forces, backed by counterintelligence forces, backed by people who have abilities, have technology that most people don't have access to. And when you look at capitalism and the relationship that capitalism has had with African people throughout history, you understand that our liberation is in direct opposition to the capitalist agenda. The capitalist agenda is to continuously exploit those who are the most exploitable, to continuously take from those who have the resources and use those resources for your personal gain. And because of that, we've always been on the receiving end. This goes back, think about the transatlantic slave trade. What you had is that you had a people who, Europeans who wanted to build up their empires, wanted to build up their countries, build up their governments, and they did not want to be the ones to actually do the work for that. And because of that, they had tried to find some type of slave labor. Now, in the United States, as you probably know, originally they did try to enslave Europeans. That didn't work out too well. They also tried to enslave Native Americans. That didn't work out too well. So what did they do? They found a resilient people, a resilient labor force. And that is what we are, because while the indentured servants from Europe who were enslaved died off quickly, the Native Americans died off quickly, Africans who were enslaved did not die off quickly, because for whatever reason, genetically, we were able to withstand the harsh American winters. We were able to withstand the harsh beatings, the harsh conditions. We were able to withstand when others could not. So what they seen was that us, even us being human beings, the same as them and having the same rights as them, the same natural rights as them seeing us and seeing that we could withstand these conditions, saw in us a resource, saw in us a good, a commodity. And that is when really capitalism took a very adverse effect on the African people, because we were no longer a people, we were no longer people who are worth having self-determination and worth having our own autonomy. We became a resource, we became something that could be easily exploited. So we were transported all throughout, of course, the world, but in particular the United States, the Caribbean and Latin American countries. Africans were shipped in droves, all for the purpose of capitalism, all for the purpose of industry, European industry, building up European infrastructure, building up their stuff. And then now here we are today. When you look at the African continent, when you look at countries that are majority ruled by African people, people sit back and wonder, why aren't you doing better? Why don't you have, it together by now? Why don't you have the same infrastructure? Why don't you have the same businesses? And the silly thing is, well, unlike the European countries, the majority European countries that you are so used to seeing, we are not trying to build up with slave labor. You don't see, for example, Jamaicans saying, okay, well, we have to build up our economy, so let's find some people who we can enslave. You don't see African countries doing that, although we do know that in some African countries, slavery is still an issue. In particular, those that are majority Arab, a lot of times are taking African people as slaves in order to fund their own industries. But I'm talking particularly about African countries that are mostly ran by African people. We don't have the same access to free labor that the Europeans had, because they took free labor. So when we understand this, we understand that from back then we had an adverse relationship to the capitalist system, because in order for us to be free, in order for us not to have been exploited, we would have had to not been a commodity to build up their empires. So there's the relationship. Either we're free and we get to have our own autonomy, have our own self-governance, continue having our own civilizations, or and in that situation, the European empires would falter and they would not be as strong as they were. Or the Europeans get to basically enslave us. And because of that, we have to be the ones who are suffering. We have to be the ones who are exploited. That's always been the relationship, because at the end of the day, when you look systematically at every single system, be it in America or Europe, you understand that there is a causal relationship between African oppression and Europeans maintaining their sense of power. There's a causal relationship. So when you're looking at what's going on around the world as far as imperialism, you'll see that there's a lot of African people who might want to revolt. And it might seem like you revolting in Haiti has nothing to do with the United States, right? Because you're just trying to get your president out of there. You're just trying to get you're just trying to get some type of control over your destiny. You're just trying to get some type of accountability. You're trying to get rid of corruption. So you think that you are not doing something that should be disagreeable to the U.S. But the fact is that it is, because the fact is that person who you're trying to get out of power, that president, happens to have been cohorts, happens to have been in business relations with business firms inside of the U.S. That person has contracts with people in the U.S. and that person has made pledges and promises to basically give things to the U.S. So if that person is no longer in power, well, who's going to be in power? Who's going to have giving so many favors to the United States? Who's going to be the one that's supporting the causal relationship of exploitation from Haiti to the U.S.? And of course, if anyone were to be put in power who would not want to continue that causal relationship, not want to continue the capitalist mainframe, which is basically that the poor Black Africans be exploited for the purpose of increasing American economics, increasing American opportunity. If anyone did want to come against that, they are automatically an enemy of the interest of capitalism. So when we're talking about what happened this week, I'm going to read a story from the Atlanta Black Star, one of my favorite newspapers to read from. And this is entitled, "What Were Armed White Men with Rifles, Pistols, and Drones Doing in Haiti?" This is from David Love. The date is February 23rd, 2019. 8 men with an arsenal of weapons and military gear, including U.S. Navy SEALs and military veterans, were arrested in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, for roaming around with their guns, reportedly on a government mission. Now, when they say they had weapons, these dudes had weapons. And I'm actually going to pause right now to show you the type of military weapons these people had. So, you know, just imagine, let's say you're in America, or say you're in Europe or somewhere out there, and imagine like your government finds people with these types of weapons, and they don't know why they're there. They don't know how they got here, but they're here and they have these weapons. It would be on the national news. It would be this big scandal. There would be people who are up in arms questioning what's going on, right? Because this is not an ordinary situation. These are military assault rifles and things that are used for mass murder. So obviously this is something that would be concerning, you think, right? Now, the people who actually were found, there were 7 of them, including 5 U.S. citizens and 2 Serbians who were permanent residents of the United States. Now, get this. They were released from custody because they were arrested when they found them with all these weapons, but they were released from custody and they were allowed to return home in a plane without any charges. Now, Madame Boukman, who is an activist with Famille Lavallès, former president, Haitian president Jean Bertrand Aristide's Social Democratic Party, has tweeted about the affair and the troubling details surrounding the men and their backgrounds, the circumstances concerning their presence in Haiti, and the elephant in the room in the form of U.S. policy towards Haiti. The policy has existed within the context of colonialism, regime change, and support for death squads and dictatorial regimes. 7 Americans, she tweeted, linked to U.S. military and security companies with machine guns, pistols, drones, satellite phones, bulletproof vests, and other cute toys were arrested last night in Haiti. In other words, mercenaries to terrorize the people to put down the rebellion. Ultimately, it was reported that 5 Americans, 2 Serbian nationals with permanent U.S. residency, and a Haitian national were arrested, but all but the Haitian men were released. So there was a Haitian that was with them. He was not released. 3 of the Americans, Clint Leland Croker, Christopher Mark McKinley, and Christopher Michael Osman, are veterans, according to the Miami Herald. Croker is a 52-year-old, a 20-year Marine veteran who runs an off-road engineering company. McKinley, a 49-year-old former Navy SEAL, has been in trouble with the police in Ohio. And Osman, a 44-year-old former Marine and Navy SEAL who fought in Afghanistan following 9/11. He was found guilty of a road rage attack in 2017. So just a quick side comment. If anyone is not, and I push this on my YouTube channel, if you have not already, please read Confessions of an Economic Hitman, because these types of profiles you won't find so surprising, because what you find is that these a lot of corporations, they will solicit people who are maybe former military vets, or people who or former people who wanted to be involved some way with the U.S. government, and they will solicit them for a lot of times these missions. And sometimes it comes in the form of economic hitmen, and other times it might come in the form of CIA agents or just some type of secret cooperative mission. But regardless, these people are very often taken from their former life and put into top secrecy inside of these positions, doing things that the public will have no idea of what they're doing. And while I think it says in the article, these men had actually claimed that they were there to protect some type of businessman in Haiti. He was just hired them basically, I guess, for some personal security. That would not surprise me, but at the same time, we know it's a little more deeper than that. When you have 7, people with military assault rifles like that. But regardless of who it was, the U.S. government, I believe, had to have been definitely in on it, because the fact that they were released from custody so quickly. Had this just been some people who were hired for some businessmen to protect him, the question would have been, okay, well, whenever he talks to the authorities, they get caught by the authorities, who's going to actually hold them accountable? And the fact that the people were released from police custody and allowed to board planes and leave the island of Haiti without any charges, without any prosecution, and go back to the U.S. tells you that they actually are working for the United States government. So when you have situations like this and you have these cooperative missions, the question is, for us who actually do want change, because the Haitian people, they're trying to get change. They're trying to, the thing that pisses me off about the capitalist mindset, the mindset of people like Donald Trump, but not just him, because Obama did the same stuff, is that they look at people who just want to have what they have as a threat. And when you look at not just Haiti, but Venezuela, for example, people who are just trying to have something that not, only a few people can benefit from, but the mass people can benefit from. People who are trying to climb out of the darkness of economic exploitation. For some reason, whenever that happens and you have good resources there that are at stake, you become an enemy of the capitalist system. And that's what you see here, because you have people in Haiti, they just want to change. Haiti has been dragged through the mud repeatedly, year after year, decade after decade, and now it's going from century after century. And they have been dealing with the horrors of U.S. imperialism. And these are just people that just want what other people have. They just want to actually not be in this position where they're being horribly exploited, when they're living inside of living conditions that are no human being would want to live in. They want what all of us want. But for some reason, the fact that the people are saying no to continuing on with mellowing in the dark, saying no to continuing on being exploited by these capitalist politicians who get these deals with the outside foreigners and start making decisions that are going to hurt them and their children and their children's children. The fact that they say no to that is a threat. And that's an issue. The fact that we say no, not even that we say, we want to get revenge on the United States. We want to get revenge on Europe. Not even that. Just the fact that you say no. Just the fact that you say, I want to stop. There was an article that I read recently is about a candidate in Senegal who, as a young candidate, I'm sorry I don't have his name available, but he's saying, no, we don't want to pay the CFA franc anymore. The CFA franc, which is a form of currency that has been used as a colonial tax from France since colonialism ended in West Africa, in a way for the French government to control the, I believe, 60 something percent of the reserves of sovereign African nations, and to be able to control the terms of trade with African nations, to be able to control how African nations trade with each other, or if they trade with others outside of Africa. All of this has been used from this French currency, and this man is saying, no, we don't want this CFA franc. Now, I'm telling you that, and I hope that he has some success, because even if they take him out, now that people are starting to talk about the CFA franc more, there's going to be more people behind him. There's going to be more people who are inspired by him. But whoever comes up and says that we don't want this anymore, just the fact that you're saying no to something that has been so beneficial to a country like France, that's a threat. That means that you're an enemy. So I don't like just, talking about the problems and the woes. Let's talk about what are the solutions. And one of the solutions that we have to think about, and I say we, Africans throughout the diaspora, wherever you are, the United States, Canada, Europe, wherever we are, and certainly on the continent of Africa, as we have these type of uprisings as is going on in Haiti, as we start saying no to the capitalist relationship, to the relationship of exploitation, as we start saying no, and we start saying we want sovereignty, we want freedom, we want self-determination, as we start saying no, are we ready to deal with the invisible government? Are we ready to deal with the fact that there are business interests that are colliding with us saying no? The fact that there are many companies, many NGOs, all types of non-governmental organizations, all types of things that are threatened when Africans are no longer in a position of being subservient. When we're no longer in a position of being needy, when we stop saying we want debt, we want loans to pay, for some bridge, we want loans to pay for some building so that we can have a flashy, looking place. When we start saying no to that and saying, no, we're going to do things differently, understand that, number one, this has been going on for not that long, but it's certainly been going on for a few decades. This causal relationship, this idea that we are since we've gotten independence in Africa, this idea that we are for exploitation, and certainly since slavery began, so it has been going on decades and centuries. When we start saying no, are we ready for the repercussions? Are we really ready? Are we ready to deal with the invisible government? And how do we deal with the invisible government? And the number one thing has to be, and I've said this many times, organization. We have to be organized, but not just organized. The fact that these 7 individuals were able to just roll into Haiti with these weapons, and who knows what they did while they were there, because we know people have been dying left and right from these protests, and we don't know who's been doing the killing. We don't know if it's Haitian officials, if it's U.S. officials. We don't know anything. Unfortunately, we probably will never know what these dudes were doing with these military assault rifles and all types of things, and drones and all that stuff. We will probably never know what they were doing with them, right? But the question is, how is it that they were just able to walk up into a country that has an airport and national security, a country that has borders, or, although it's an island, but a type of, it does have borders. How are they able to just walk into this country and leave on out when they were done? Leave on out whenever they got caught. Not have to answer to anyone. And that's an issue that obviously predates this uprising, because that's the issue of us being weak, us not having power. For a long time, people like Marcus Garvey have been trying to get us to focus on power. What power means. Power means that you're not in such a weak position that your oppressor can do things so easily, and it's not to say that, there's not ways that the system can maneuver and try to get around whenever we actually do get organized and do actually start enforcing that, you're not just going to come in and exploit us and do whatever you want. That's not, even though there's ways to get around that, that's fine. But understand that it was way too easy for these guys to just walk up in Haiti and walk back out. It was way too easy for those UN envoys in the Congo to have taken, I believe, diamonds or some type of natural resource from Congo, gems, and have all of these loaded up in their military vehicle and just not have any repercussions. This is way too easy. And if you would never conceive this happening in the United States, if you would never conceive this happening in the UK, in France, then why is it so easy that this happens with African people in our countries, inside of places where we actually are the people controlling? And the issue is we just don't have the power right now. And that's what we have to focus on. Focus on, ahead of these revolutions. I'm very much for us striking back and for us having a reaction to oppression. I've said this before, it's good that we react to oppression. It's good that, if someone shoots your brother, a cop shoots your brother unjustly, that you're going to go out and protest, that you're going to go out and try to talk to the politician to do something, that you're going to do something instead of just be numb to it and say, oh, it's another day living as a black in America, because that's a very sad place to be in. So reacting is definitely a good thing. However, reacting, as I said in a previous video, is not revolutionary in itself. Revolutionary means that you're not just reacting, that you're actually being proactive. It means that you're thinking about what are the consequences if this does not go a certain way. What are the consequences if we do win? What if the Haitians actually do get this guy out of power? Are they going to be able to build a strong Haiti? Because understand that and I think that they probably will get him out of power. When he's out of power, there are wolves who are waiting. There are people who are waiting. And, if the situation becomes more unstable in Haiti, understand there are corporate businesses, there are people who are waiting to jump in there and say that they're there for charitable means, but they're actually there to actually get what they can from the people, to set up new institutions to exploit the people. They are waiting. So understand. In the same way, I'll go back to again with Venezuela. You can tell already there are people who are waiting to get Maduro out of power. They are waiting. They're counting their money, and they're like, okay, come on, get them, get them, because they are waiting. There are sharks that are waiting. So understand that they're waiting, and be ready to actually defend that. I'm very much about organization, and unfortunately, this is not an organized movement in Haiti. And when you're not in an organized movement, there's a lot of things that you're susceptible to. So we have to be ready for that. But the big thing that we have to take away and remember is that we don't want this to be our future. We don't want for mercenaries to be able to roll up inside of our countries and no one says anything about it, and they leave, and then everyone forgets, because it's just another day being black in this world, right? We don't want this to be normal. We don't want this to be our future. So as far as other governments and other countries, as we do get power, as we, the people, get power over ourselves, as we get power, even if you're not in a majority African country, if you're in America, as you get power over your community, you want to make sure that you have the parameters that you need to protect yourself, that you have the strength that you need and the power that you need, because you can't combat power with weakness. You can't combat the invisible government with with nothing. You can't say, oh well, shame on you, CIA, or shame on you, Navy SEALs, for doing this to us, when you don't have anything to push back. All you have is your words. You can't combat those things. They're too big for you, and you don't even stand a chance. However, if we're thinking like we need to be, thinking strategically, then we know that we not only need to be thinking about revolution, thinking about changing regimes, thinking about changing presidents, thinking about voting, thinking about not voting. We know that we need something more, and that is ultimate power that comes from self-reliance, that comes from actually building institutions. The most important thing in this is that it comes from organization. Organization first, y'all. I know we're told, oh, we just need to support black businesses. No. That is so important to support black businesses. It's so important, don't get me wrong, but organization has to come first. Because the fact is, a lot of those black businesses, guess what? They take their money and they invest outside of your community, or they're not doing what they need to do. to actually reciprocate it. And I'm not saying all, but you know, a lot that we run to support because we just want to support anyone that looks like us, because we don't have understanding, mutual understanding, because we don't have organization that says, okay, we're putting money into you, so therefore you put money into this business, you put money into that business, you get your products from these people, you get your supplies from these people. You know, we don't have that organization yet. So understand, organization is one of the things that we have to focus on, and that's really going to be the only way that we can combat these threats. Other than that, keep in mind that they are a threat, and keep in mind that they are out there, and keep in mind that they're probably already in your community and you don't know. Not to scare anyone, but this is just the reality of what we're living. So that's what I have for today. As I said, this is for the Federation of African Liberation. Please join our movement and stay tuned and learn information about what's going on about different Africans in the diaspora, and join the movement and help to overthrow the mutual oppressors that we all have. Because I don't care where you are and what country you are and what city you're in, the fact is that you are facing the same thing that we're facing, because all of us are on the, remember, the exploitative end of this capitalist system. So that's all I have, and I will see you all in another video.